What is going on today, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Today, I've got 15 new ideas or changes to old aspects that I think would be really fun to have in the game. I've done one of these videos before, so if you like this one and you want to hear more of my ideas, there's a link somewhere. 15 more ideas. Let's just jump right in. Starting off with the 9 changes I would make to these aspects. Number 1, on her. I absolutely love the idea that they had to make his 2 and his ultimate crit. I think it would be great to add into the aspect and then also nerf the aspect attack speed just a little bit. Nerf it down to, I think it's 5 autos up to 100%. Nerf it from 5 autos to 100% to 5 autos for 40% or something like that. You get 8% stacking instead of 20%, but your 2 and your ultimate would crit. I would make the ultimate and the 2 crit at a reduced amount. The tech is already in the game with Nuwa ultimate critting for a little bit less. So I think that would be a really cool change to have for on her. My second one is with Athena. Athena aspect just kind of feels like a more underwhelming version of her current ultimate. Like, yeah, she can use it aggressively, but it doesn't really do all that much. How I would do it is I have 2 options. I would either, 1, make when she lands on the ultimate, it fears everybody around except the person she's landing on, so that if she is ulting into the middle of a team fight, her CC is then with that, instead of like she just lands and then she dies. It's impossible to ult into a fight late game because you're kind of just going to land and die if you're full damage, and if you're tanky, you're going to land and do nothing. So make it so when she lands, she fears everybody in like a Hades-sized area or something like that. Or the second one is, instead of her 2 taunting, her 2 fears. So I like the idea of a fear on Athena because like if you're building her full damage, it kind of makes a little bit more sense for her to fear instead of taunting. But she fears them away with her 2, and then, you know, she can use her crits on her autos or whatever in between her abilities. So that makes it full damage Athena just feel that much better. I also don't know how my ABC works. I don't know how my ABCs work. So yeah, this isn't in an ABC order. So Aries is the 3rd one. And I like the idea of his aspect. It just feels like you're losing out on too much when you take the stun. Like the protections, the regen that you are getting, and also buffing your teammates up is very, very strong. Just trading it for a 1 stun, it's pretty underwhelming. I thought it'd be cool if they made Aries into like an in-hand character with his aspect, where his 2 stuns, but it stuns, and I think it still gives extra auto attack damage. I could be wrong. That part I don't remember offhand. But you stun, and then your 3, instead of doing the flames, he like sets his fists on fire for 4 seconds or 5 seconds like that, and every auto will then tick on the character once or twice. So then he's got like a stun into a chain, and then he just starts whooping on you with his fists, and then he stuns, or he chains, and he starts whooping on you with his fists some more. I think it would be a lot more interesting to have Aries as like an in-hand auto attacker, and then he also doesn't have like the safety of like a dash or something like that, where if he gets on top of you, he's gonna be pummeling you in, but you have this big distance that he has to cover. I think that would be cool. The next one, again, don't know how my ABCs work. Very simple one for Artemis. I think she should be allowed to have more traps. The 4 traps are cool, but losing out on the CC for something that heals you most of the time is just a downgrade. I cannot imagine an actual scenario where Aspect Artemis is better than base Artemis, but giving her like the option of having like 7, 8 traps down, she can go to an objective, and if she's like kind of stacking them up, you can kind of one shot them. And it's not like there's no counterplay, because if you're paying attention to the objectives, you see Artemis walking back and forth 8 times to the objective. Just run over it, you tick it 1 time, and then you walk away. Like, yeah, you'll take some damage, but her entire kit is just dependent on that one ability. So I think that would be cool. The next one, Bakus aspect of revelry. I think it would be cool if after his ultimate, he just got a small burst of movement speed so that he can stick and start beating on you a little bit easier with his autos. The aspect is pretty good laning, but I think giving it just a small amount of strength late game where you can actually stick to people, kind of, I think it would make it feel a whole lot better. And he's partying. Like, he's intoxicated. He's partying. He gets excited after he slams his alcohol on the ground. Who doesn't? Yeah, that's my idea for Bakus. The next one is for Hakkate aspect, and I think it would be a good change to make her 2 scale better as a conquest and like a support ability instead of like an arena spam ability. I know a lot of people have an issue with this aspect and how it plays in arenas and assaults. So my idea to try to avoid that issue is the 2 now is 15% reduced damage instead of 10%. It only scales with 10% of your intelligence, and then it also doesn't proc items. I think it spams too much, and it procs too many items. Like, the strength of Hakkate with the aspect should be she's reducing this damage. That's it. She can also do a little bit of poke damage with the 2, but it's mostly focused on the damage that she's reducing. She's got her 3 shield. She's giving you more damage with her 1, or she's got CC, and then her ultimate is massive CC or a pathway for her and her teammates. I think it would make a lot more sense to take some damage strength out of the 2 in the aspect and put it into more utility with the damage increase. Or damage, the enemy damage decrease, increase. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what I'm saying. I've had 2 ideas with Hercules aspect, and one of them I still think would be really cool, where the 3, instead of healing yourself the second time, that, and then also the attack speed, instead of that, you get a movement speed buff for like 2 seconds, 3 seconds or something like that, to get like that regrowth feel that he had in Smite 1 that made support Hercules as good as it was. I've kind of fallen out of love with that idea, and I've really fallen in love with this other idea of his 3 gives him old compassion from Smite 1, where once he procs his 3, for the next 10 seconds or 8 seconds or however much, his teammates take 12% less damage, and that damage is redirected to him. And however they coded it, was like up to 100 damage per tick or whatever it was, gets redirected to Hercules. I think that would make him feel really rewarding in support, where you have the heal from your 3, you can also eat the damage from your teammates, and you have good CC with the 2-1. You lose out on a little bit of peel with Hercules when you have him in support. So giving him that peel from that mitigation would be really cool, I think. Next one, Hunbots. I like the idea of his aspect. My issue is that most of the time, you're not losing that much with the aspect. Like, the trade-off is you farm worse, but you have CC. Is that a good trade-off? A lot of the times, yeah. Sometimes you just want to power farm and just run through the game. I think it'd be a lot cooler if they shifted Hunbots support into more of a solo laner support style god with the aspect. So my idea is remove this 1.2 times damage altogether, and then instead of that, you will do 10% of your protections in damage on every auto if the enemy is slowed from either your infused strike slow or your 1 jump slow. There's like the chance that this would maybe be a little strong, but I think it would be an interesting shift from Hunbots being like just full damage, build all the damage you can, because your autos are still doing so much damage, to this god should be played in like the solo lane. He's got a lot of CC on the ult, the 2. He does a good amount of damage. He's pretty safe. He can farm. His downside is he doesn't have CC immunity. But I think that would be a lot more interesting for Hunbots instead of just build full damage on this character and get an extra CC. Lastly, probably a bit of a contentious one for the changes I would make. I would make Loki aspect no longer apply extra damage from behind you. So this is just gone. However, your passive applies agonizing visions. I think this would be a really cool playstyle for Loki, as he's like the trickster god. I had to look at that. He's the trickster god. That first auto is not going to apply the blind, but every auto will apply the damage dealt reduction, so that he's got a little bit of a utility. And then if you just allow him to stand there and auto attack you without jumping away or CCing him or killing him, he can keep this blind on you for a pretty long time. I think that would be a really cool way to play him. I know it maybe seems a little annoying. I really don't think it'd be annoying at all. I think it'd just be a really fun way to play Loki. But yeah, those are the changes that I would make to aspects that are already in the game. Now let's take a quick look at aspects that I think I would add to the game. This is not my best work in my opinion. I think I have some decent ideas, but they mostly just lay framework if others think of something that's just better than mine. I thought it'd be cool to make Aladdin a bit more of a support with this aspect, where if you ult somebody and hits them with the lamp, instead of him going and fighting that character in the lamp, he banishes them into the lamp for 5 seconds. It's a very long duration. It's 5 seconds, but it's on a 90, or I think it's actually even longer than that. Aladdin ultimate cooldown is 110 down to 100. So 110 second cooldown, but you banish an enemy for 5 seconds if they don't beads it. I think that would be really cool. And then you can make it also something like his 2 no longer has that execute on it, or lower scaling also, and then it just slows the enemy instead, to make him more of like a harass character who also has some supportive things, where if the enemy's got this 5v5 comp that's absolutely sick, but it's reliant on the ADC to just carry the fight, you could banish the ADC for 5 seconds if he doesn't beat your ultimate. I think that would be a pretty cool way to play Aladdin in support. My next one is with Cabraen. Cabraen aspect would be his 1 and his 2 no longer stun. So the 1 altogether just gives you movement speed, it does damage. You get the attack speed. Yes, awesome. That's what you get. You no longer get the stun. And then your 2, the second stun, is no longer a stun, but you still get the heal. So you lose out on those 2 stuns, but your 3 does 1% of your max health every 0.5 seconds that it's ticking. If that is deemed too strong and like doing that much on the 3, standing still and not getting CC'd is too strong, you can make it where it no longer trembles also. But I think it'd be a really cool shift from Cabraen being this like high CC, pretty hard to kill character who doesn't deal like a ton of damage into loses a bit of CC but does quite a bit more damage. I think it'd be really fun to play around with. Next one is with Hades. My Hades idea aspect would be revolving around his ultimate. Hades 1, 2, 3 is already pretty good in support. The changes I would make to Hades is to make him more of a peel-oriented character, to make him a support. The Blight no longer reduces the enemy's strength and intelligence. However, the ultimate does reduce damage, probably down 60% base, or maybe just remove the scaling altogether. But it grants a growing shield to allies for every tick. The number I had was 10 up to 70. So it does 8 times. It ticks 8 times. So early game, it's about an 80 shield at level 5, which is not great. But late game up to 70, it would be a 560 shield that grows over time. And then as soon as your ultimate is done channeling, it disappears. So it's a 4-second duration of this really big shield for your teammates, and you give it to all 4 of your teammates and then yourself. And it would just make it so he's got heals with his 3, he's got the CC on his 2, his ultimate is also going to be shielding his teammates, and he's also going to be pretty tanky. I think that'd be a fun way to play Hades, and I would love to try that. My most confusing one, but I think it would be awesome, is Izzanami Aspect. My idea behind Izzanami is to make her less of an auto attacker and make her almost a late game scaling caster, like an AD or AP caster. Instead of Izzanami having boomerang autos, she just has her normal, like she has her 1 proc autos. They just don't do additional damage. So the 1 is just a brand new ability. The 1 gives a buff to yourself where for the next 10 seconds, your 2, your 3, and your ultimate are now half the cooldown. Let me get through all this because it might sound a little confusing or a little OP. So your 2, instead of being a 12-second cooldown, once you proc your 1, it'll be 6 seconds. Your 3, instead of being 15 seconds, will be 7 seconds. And then your ultimate, I'll tie this back around, but ignore the ultimate for now. Your 2 will have half the cooldown. Your 3, again, half the cooldown. But when you are invisible, if she's invisible and she uses her 2 in her ult, where she stays invisible when she casts these, they do extra damage. So the way to play her would be to go invisible, or pop your 1, go invis, cast your 2 ult, go out of invis, dash again, cast your 2 ult, and then, you know, get out of your invis again. I wanted the ultimate also to be a lower cooldown, drastically reducing everything. The damage scaling, the bleed damage, the silence duration, the slow, nuke it all, but make it like a base cooldown ability, like your 2s. Maybe it's 20 down to 12 or something like that. So then she becomes this insanely strong late game hyper carry who's not an auto attack carry. She's an ability based carry that's also going to be hard to die because she has so much invisibility and safety. I think that'd be a lot of fun to play. It does sound a little confusing, but like seeing it play in my head just sounds so cool. Very simple one for the next one. Jingi. Her 2 now no longer is a cooldown based ability, is now a proc or a toggle, where when you use your toggle, your explosive bolts do just the extra scaling. So 110% extra crit, but no charges, but it also costs 20 mana per auto. So it's something when you're in the late game, you pop your 2, like, yeah, you're going to be really strong for however many autos you have worth of mana, if you're also not spamming your 3 1s and ults, but it will be massive, massive cost to your mana, and you kind of have to manage it also with making sure you have enough to get out with your 3, or if you spam too much of your 2, you run out of mana in the fight, you can't use any other abilities. I think it'd be a really fun way to play around Jingi, and also not really take away from her other style of kit, but it doesn't change a ton, but I don't think it's important for every kit to change a ton. This one is just one that I think would be really fun to play around with. And my last one for one of the newest gods in the game is Mercury, and I want to make him into more of a solo lane character. His 1 is now just a 4-second base cooldown. It's nothing else exciting with it. You get more damage the points you put into it, and also bigger radius the points you put into it. It does not scale with cooldown, so it can't go past 4 seconds. It just stays at 4 seconds, and it does damage based off his procs along with a lower base, so maybe 60 down to 200 or something like that. Just a small nerf on the damage, and then maybe 15% of your protections. And then also your 2 makes your autos do more damage based off your protections. And since your 1 procs item and ability effects, you can 2 and then 1 for like maybe a little bit of poke. Or if you're just all-inning, you proc your 2, and you start wailing on somebody with all those protections that you have. The last thing I would do is make his ultimate greatly reduced. It's instant. It would instantly clap to like the distance but make it way, way, way shorter to make it so it's not like you're trying to gank a Mercury and then he just pops his ultimate and then just leaves. I think that would make it a lot more fun. Before we leave, I have one more aspect that I would change, and I was thinking about this the other day. Khepri aspect, I think, is just always a better version of base Khepri. So let's dive into that more, where separating both of these instead of just this one's just always better. Make Khepri ultimate and execute on enemies instead of reviving for allies. So then there's going to be Solo in Khepri, whose aspect of laceration, he wants to lacerate and kill. And then there's the support Khepri, who does a lot less damage because his one will not be doing the auto attack damage. The thing that I kind of settled with was the ultimate, you toss it onto an enemy. At 15% max health, you have to proc it again to then pull the enemy to you to kill them and execute them. You have to proc it a second time. It has to be within 5 seconds to make it so it's limited by it. You don't just toss it on somebody when they're low, or you don't just toss it on them and then get them low. You have to toss it on them and then get them underneath 15% and then toggle the ability again or hit the ability again to then pull them to you and execute. I think this would be a lot of fun. You could also give him, you know, scaling. I think you get scaling prots, something like maybe scaling health or prots or something like that when you have this aspect to make it so you want to get those executes. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But there it is now. Those are all the ideas that I have. Let me know down below, what do you guys think about them? Do you guys have any changes that you want to see to aspects or any aspects that you want in the game? Or let me know down below which one is your guys' favorite. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video, though. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.